Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another Shadowverse video. This video is slightly different than my regular decking gameplays because every few months I get a chance to make this video, and that is a tournament strategy breakdown where I show you guys the decks I brought to a tournament that I did well in, my thought process bringing the decks, and I get to show you some gameplay with the decks. So recently, just yesterday actually, I played in the Panda Cup Invitational. It's a tournament held by a community streamer, Lewis the Panda. He holds this tournament every time there's a new expansion, and it's an invited tournament, so 8 players, top competitive players in the Western scene as well as top streamers, content creators get invited to this event, and I won it. And actually this is my 3rd Panda Cup in a row that I won the entire thing, so I'm pretty happy about that because I get to kind of like show that I can be competitive and that I could be consistent. The grand finals, I was in the loser bracket for the grand finals, ended up beating Akamura Red, who came 2nd in the world championships last year. I beat him 6-1 to take 1st place in this Panda Cup, so pretty happy about that. The decks that I brought to this tournament were Puppet Portalcraft, Aggro Forest, and Mid-Range Sword. So these 3 decks, and let's just go through why I brought this lineup in particular. First of all, I do want to say that I did submit my lineup pretty much at like 4 AM the day before I needed to submit decks. I kind of forgot about deck submissions along the way. So I kind of had to build a lineup quickly and submit one. It is last hero standing format, so best of 3, and if you win with your deck, you have to play that deck again. If you lose, you gotta switch your deck. So basically with my overall strategy, I would say, I just wanted to bring aggressive decks that it's kind of hard to counter right now. Like the 3 decks I brought, there's no actual like hard counter to these decks where you have like an 80-20% matchup or even like a 70-30% matchup. These 3 decks could pretty much beat anything across the field right now. I expected a lot of people to bring like Havencraft, which was correct. A lot of people did end up bringing Haven, and these 3 decks are actually pretty good against Haven, especially if you go first. Because the thing with like Crystalline Haven, it's a bit slow to build up their Crystallines, especially if they have a slightly inconsistent draw. So you could really punish them by playing aggressive decks. So first of all, with my Puppet Portalcraft, pretty standard puppet list. Actually, all 3 of my decks I didn't really create myself. I kind of just net decked them off of Japanese players from the Pro League, the Rage Pro League, because they're very fine-tuned decks and they look really good. I didn't really want to change much of it. Like the only card I changed in this puppet list is that I included 1 Puppeteer strings. But yeah, Puppets, very good deck because a lot of classes can't actually deal with they could maybe deal with board if they're playing a control deck, but they can't actually deal with the puppet damage from hand, because once you set up Noah, you have all the puppets in your hand and you just kill them. So it's kind of hard to counter that, especially if you start popping off with like your Silva Ardent Sniper. Like if you get that early, like one of my games I got 2 Ardent Snipers really early on, so that game was just a complete blowout. But Puppet Portal, really strong deck, especially when you're going first and you get a decent draw. Really hard to stop the deck, hard to stop the damage, consistent damage throughout the game. So Puppet Portal, I think this was actually Puppet Portal was probably one of my weakest decks out of my 3 actually, even though I'm like talking really well about it. But the main reason why Puppet Portal was my weakest deck was that I had the least amount of practice with this deck, and I made a lot of misplays. Like throughout the tournament, whenever I did make a few mistakes along the way, pretty much all of those mistakes were with Puppet. So like Puppet Portal is a really strong deck, but I think you do have to practice it a lot to get good at it. So yeah, I do think Puppet was a great deck. However, it was my weakest deck because I couldn't play it as optimal as I wanted to. The next deck, Aggro Forest. Forest is a class that I'm very comfortable with. I play a decent amount of Aggro Forest as well because it's an archetype that's been around for a long time. So Puppet Forest, Aggro Forest, one of my stronger decks, and yeah, it's just hard to stop, especially when you get like early board control. Rain is like so insane. when you can evolve her on like turn 4 and you get her evolve effect, you just like swing the board so hard. And so this deck, very strong. It is a bit weaker once your opponent is able to stabilize the board and start getting the control, and then you're just relying on your like fairy driver to end the game. But I found that I actually played Forest the least amount of times. I played Sword and Puppet the most, but Forest it pulled through in the end for me, I would say. Like, it did end up, I think, 3-0ing in the finals. Like, I lost with my Puppet in the beginning, and then I played Forest, and it 3-0'd for that set, so it was able to reset the bracket. So, Aggro Forest was a really solid deck for me, in my opinion. No complaints about that. And the times I did play Forest, because I am more familiar with the deck, I feel like I was playing it really well compared to, like, the Puppet Portalcraft. And the final deck, mid-range Sword. If you guys are following like the competitive scene right now, you probably know that mid-range Sword is really picking up. It's a very powerful deck at the moment. Not much change from the new expansion. We got new powerful cards like Dragon Knights and Charletta. And Zeta, of course. But the deck, very solid. I would say this was my best performing deck. It had no bad matchups. It 3-0'd in the resetted final match, and yeah, nothing I could complain about this. Like, I drew well with it as well. Like, I was going first, I was playing my Arthur on curve, playing on curve the entire game. That's why it's called Curveverse. But yeah, really no complaints about mid-range Sword, my best performing deck in the tournament. So yeah, like I said, couldn't put much time into building my lineup, ever thought into it. But I really didn't need that much time, because I saw these 3 decks. I'm like, these are really good. There's not much counterplay. There's no bad matchups. And good against Haven, which I expect a lot of. And that's why I didn't want to bring Haven as well. Like, I really didn't want to play Haven mirror matches. And I just don't think that, even though I do believe Haven is a good deck, both Tenko and Crystalline, but I think in a tournament setting like this, I think these 3 decks were just better. And it ended up working out for me. Like I said, I won the entire thing. So yeah, so now I'm just going to go over some replays of the games I played on ladder, and then kind of like do some commentary on that. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Comment down below on what you think about my decks. I did feature all these decks except the Aggro Forest in the video already. However, they are kind of up to date. Like, the Puppet list changed quite a bit from my original video. The Sword is the exact same from the Sword video. And I'll probably do a decking gameplay of the Aggro Forest soon. But yeah, let me know what you think about these decks in the comments below. Subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification so you know when new videos are up. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. As always guys, I appreciate the support, and thank you so much for watching my video. Alright, so my first opponent, Havencraft, and actually we're going second here. So this is like a good replay because I get to showcase how Portal is pretty good against Haven, even when you're going second. Because when you're going first, really good for you, but second, it's a little bit harder. I believe this was the Crystal line. And as you can see here, we drew the Silva. So if you have Silva to play on turn 3 with a rush and you gain the tempo from it, it's just like, it starts to snowball really hard. I go with Hamlin here to copy my Paracelsus because the way that I figure my next few turns will go out, I want to be able to evolve my Paracelsus possibly twice, so I want to make a copy out of it. Here my opponent got the early Lion Temple, but yeah, like I said earlier, we got the early Ardent Sniper, so I feel really good right now. My next turn I get to evolve my Paracelsus into something. I'm planning that I do want to play this Staircase of Paradise sometime soon, because I want the countdowns to start going, because Staircase of Paradise is very important for when you want to start building, to start getting more gas. Before I wasn't playing Staircase of Paradise, and then you would kind of have some RNG draws, but the Paradise makes it really consistent, especially because it counts your puppet being destroyed, so it's really good. That turn, like I was saying, I did want to get the Staircase going, so that's why I played that plus the Paracelsus. And I just did the pre-evolve there because I know for Haven they could punish with like the Prism Swing. But if they don't have Prism Swing, they have to evolve something into it and it just trades 1 for 1. From what I know from what Lions would have in their deck. And also by pre-evolving, I get to set up my Strike Golem for my following turn, which you see here. So the 50-50 goes in my favor, which is nice. Now I know if like my opponent needs to deal with it, either needs to be a spell or he wastes his last evo. He had the scripture. My top deck is Spinaria here, which is really good, like really good, because I don't have to waste my Paracelsus and my Local Coco, and it puts 2 followers on my board where my Staircase of Paradise, if he kills both of my followers, will count down completely. Here I think he misplays. He trades into my artifact, which activates my Staircase, which allows me to draw 3 cards 1 turn earlier, which I think is a huge misplay for him. And this is just like such a good turn for me because I get to develop a Nicholas, and I get to play my second Ardent Sniper. I get to clear his board, and on my following turn, I have the second Nicholas, which will pop both of my Go-Go Robomis. So like, I just know at this point, this game's already over. Like, we already knew we were ahead since like turn 3 and like 4. Like, pretty much throughout this game, we know we were ahead. But now we just know that the game's pretty much over because our turn 8's so powerful, and we have a finisher with the Orcus if we can set that up correctly. So basically at this point, I'm just trying to figure out how I want, like obviously we're doing this turn 8, and then my next turn I'm thinking how I want to set up my Orcus. So it would probably be like a substitution, maybe like 2 substitutions and Hamlin to add the puppets into my hand. Or I could use a Local Coco plus a substitution to get those puppets. My opponent is so far behind on the Holy Lion Crystals that he can't deal with these 2 5/5 wards. Even if he was able to get like 1 storm, it still wouldn't even be that good. Here he's already like at 2 because I'm doing 12 damage this turn. So pretty much I get 1 puppet and he's just dead. And yeah, he just concedes here. So the next game, we're showing off the Forest deck, and it's against Portograph, so it's actually a good matchup for us. We are going second though. But yeah, obviously the reason why it's a good matchup is because we got Wood of Brambles, which pretty much stops all the puppets from trading into like my fairies for free. So that's really important to have. That's why we auto kept the Brambles there. Also keeping the Falconeer just so we could kind of curve out. Obviously we want to have like the Goblin on turn 1, but you can't have everything. And this matchup, this game is actually going to be pretty interesting towards the end. Don't want to spoil it yet, but you'll find out. So his turn 3 is just a substitution. It's actually quite weak. Like, he skipped his turn 2. Turn 3 is just substituting, so he's not developing anything. I know he has a puppet in his hand, so obviously we won't play the Raptor because that would give him too much of an initiative. So we just play the 2/2 here instead. This turn I played the Bramos just like it's kind of stopped the puppet from doing anything. But also this turn was just kind of awkward. I didn't want to play the Raptor because it still does to the puppet. But because we drew the Rain, I wanted to set up the Rain in a situation that I could use it next turn. That's why I just played the 2/2, because if I went double fairies, I wouldn't be able to activate the Rain next turn. We can't play Fairy Driver evolve into the Nicholas because that puts it at 1 and the puppet clears. So I feel like that play last turn was the only option. Drew the Barrage, which is super good here because that gives me 2 more turns with my Brambles. I get to clear his Nicholas, and I get to develop board. I just gained so much tempo from drawing that 1 Airbound Barrage that turn. This guy's playing Pure Heart Singer in his puppet list, which I actually kind of like because you do 1 card draw. Pure Heart Singer is decent if you just play with the Ardent Sniper. So this is the turn where I could finally play my Rain. There's a couple of different combinations of cards that I could play with it. Like I could have played like an Insect Lord, but then I feel like if I get to play the Raptor this turn because my Barrage is still up, my Brambles is still up, so his puppet can't kill my Raptor easily, or any of my followers easily for that matter. So I get extra damage in possibly with the Raptor attacking twice this game. So he just removes, develops as much as he can, plays a puppet so he doesn't overdraw, makes a lot of sense. Here I trade everything in, because the way I see it is I get to set up lethal by playing the Hyperia and having 3 fairies in my hand. So turn 8 I would have 6, 11, 13 damage. So the only way that my opponent can stop me is by playing a ward or a healing. And this is exactly what he has. He has the Orcus. So pretty much only Orcus or Nicholas with the enhanced 8 was going to stop this play. So it's definitely worth setting up this, because if your opponent just doesn't have the answer, then you're just dead. This is where the game starts getting weird, because now I have to use my Fairy Driver and all my reach to deal with this board. Obviously the Lloyd's in my way, but I have to kill this Orcus, because otherwise he's just going to get more Lloyd's, he's going to get more health. So I am able to clear this here, but it does use a lot of my resources. I could have possibly used the Insect Lord Evolve and then get 2 damage in. But because his board's empty, he's out Evo points. I feel like if I have the Evo point for 1 more turn, I could really start to swing the board rather than just getting 2 damage in. And that's basically how it started panning out. With double Fairy Driver, I get a lot more damage in with this Fairy. I was trying to think how I could make room to play this Water Fairy, because I want this Water Fairy to die while I have double Fairy Driver so I could get the extra charge. I mean, I guess I could have played the Water Fairy over the normal Fairy this turn, but then I'm not guaranteeing that I get the 3 damage in. Like, maybe he has ways to kill my Fairy Drivers, then I'd rather cash in on the damage with the Fairy I already have now, rather than waiting. So he has the Nicholas for the 8 play points, automatically giving him a ward. Super annoying, but I top took the Fairy Whisperer here. So this is why I meant that this game was weird, because my Fairy Driver stuck for multiple turns. And like, you almost never have double Fairy Drivers on the board where you can buff your fairies twice. So, had exact lethal here. Clutching it out. Probably, if I didn't draw the Fairy Driver that turn, I probably would have lost. Like, I think he would have been able to come back, but fortunately, sometimes lucky. Last game, featuring the Swordcraft deck, and we're against Dragon. Finally get to go first. This matchup, I would say, is pretty favored for us, because we're playing a lot of cards that could play around AoE damage from Dragons now. There's the Charletta, and of course we got the Black Queen. Not to mention, we have a really good curve here. We got the 2, 3, 4, 5 curve. So already looking at this hand, I'm feeling good about it. Especially against Dragon, because sometimes they might have a slow opening, or they're using their first couple turns to ramp. So they don't actually get to deal with your board. So if he has a slow opening, and then I get to curve into my Charletta and protect everything from AoE, then like I feel like I'm just going to win. But he plays the Feline here, which kind of annoying because the White Dragon Breath able to pierce through my spell damage bubbles. Pick up that Holy Bear Knight, so I get go double 2 drops here, which I think is really nice. There was worth considering playing the Fatal Spell Bomb over the Bear Knight, just so we could deal with the Feline, because he might like evolve the Feline and then use the White Dragon Frost Breath to clear this entire board. However, he doesn't go for that here. Instead, he decides he values a second body over the full clear, which I can respect that. However, unfortunately for him, like, he gets slightly punished because since he didn't clear that board, he's taking 4 extra damage from this hedgehog. I guess what he was thinking is that I'm probably evolving. One of my big followers is going to get damaged, so you might as well save the White Frost for now. But yeah, he's just trying to react to my board, and he's slightly behind just because he couldn't clear everything at first, and my curve is just so strong here. Go for the Round Table Assembly over the Chromatic Duel, because on average, this is my pull, which is 1 and 1. And so the Charletta plays around the Dragon Newt Fire, the Dragon Newt Breath, so he can't clear this board. I got a bubble. I get to play my Mars, which is protected by the Charletta. I would have got a little bit screwed if I got double Mars, but got the average. And then we just finish it off with the Dragon Knights. Very fast game, but when you have a curve like that, the games are fast.
望んでも叶わない明日があると